YouTube, and we're having fun with our YouTubes, Mitzi, because Jodie Foster was on,
Yes, I saw.
and it was so fun watching that thing go viral, you know?
Uh-huh.
And then Gilbert Gottfried, I haven't cut up Gilbert to get little pieces to go viral yet, but we have fun with it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, YouTube's, it rules these days, so absolutely. It's a shame I couldn't get up to Boston, and then we could be here live and in person on YouTube.
Well, we're having a lot of fun here in the studio. We just had Peter Kalo on Monday. He's Carly Simon's music director.
Oh, right.
But he's also he's been in a lot of films, Flawless and Hairspray, as the guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a new Showtime movie series, The Big C. So he's the guitarist. But wonderful people come in and out of the doors, and you never know. He's a great guy for you to know because he just plays music with all these films and things.
Mm-hmm.
But what was your first article or book that got published?
I actually started out with some erotic novels called that I wrote under the name M.S. Valentine. That wasn't the first stuff I ever wrote. It's just the first stuff that got published. And
M.S. Valentine?
Yeah, M.S. Valentine. That was me, and they were a bit more, shall we say, way over into the erotic realm, not so much mainstream. And that was fine. I started out with that, but it wasn't something I was going to stay at forever. It was just a way of getting in the door and get a few books under my belt, so to speak.
And who published those?
Oh gosh, I mean, they've been published and republished by several publishers, and they're still out right now. Blue Moon, which is now defunct, they were part of the a group in New York, which Avalon at one time.
Oh, I loved Avalon.
Yeah, Avalon Publishing Group. A lot of these imprints just vanish by the wayside. People make decisions and they say, okay, we'll stop the imprint.
Well, Avalon got picked up by, I want to say Houghton Mifflin, maybe?
No, it's some other
Da Capo.
running press.
Da Capo.
Oh,
Perseus.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of Perseus authors come through. And I saw that Avalon, because Ray Manzarek from The Doors was on Avalon, so we interviewed him.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we got a lot of great authors from Avalon. They were doing such great work.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated to see that imprint go away.
Well, I hated it too because I also was doing some books with the now defunct Thunder's Mouth Press. And
Oh, wow.
you know John Oakes, who was the publisher, and he was just the loveliest fellow. I mean, just great to work with. And that imprint went, and that's the way the business goes, I guess.
Now, John Oakes, where is he now?
I think he's still in New York. He's got some other publishing entity he's started up, but unfortunately, it's not anything that I can do. It's not my thing. I think it's more like I think it's like might be some sort of print-on-demand entity. But he seems to be happy. I get poked on Facebook by him, so I guess he's okay.
Oh, wow, that's good because Thunder's Mouth wasn't impressive. Avalon, Thunder's Mouth, these were really superb imprints.
I know, and they did interesting books in a variety, just an interesting variety of books. I think they did quite a few music-related things, too, if I'm correct.
That's how I was attracted to it because we do a lot of music here.
Yeah.
And one of our questions to our musicians is the demo that got the deal, which is why I asked you, the book that got the deal.
Yeah.
We like to get those stories down. Did you have an agent for your first book?
I've had 3 agents, and I still have ended up being independent, and my projects have all been placed by me. So
good for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. It just ends up being me. What can I say?
Now, this series, what was the first in this series?
Which specific one do you mean? The Valentine books?
The Pride and Prejudice is part of a series, correct?
Oh, well, no, actually, this is my first such book of this kind.
Okay.
Yeah, which is not to say there will not be more. I'm kind of considering that and having some very casual discussions about that. But this is definitely the first remaking of a classic novel that I've done.
Hold on, Mitzi.
Okay.
Hello, producers. Can we close the door out there? Close the door. Thank you very much.
Are our fans take the door down?
All the Mitzi fans are out there, and it's quite loud. So
they think I'm hiding in there, and they don't know I'm in Florida.
It's pretty funny. England by way of Florida. I was thinking if you and your mother wanted to go up to Rockport or Gloucester, the beautiful areas up here,
Oh, I wish there was time on this trip, but it's just sort of involved with other things. So, yeah, and I'm so busy because, like I said, things have been really happening with Pride and Prejudice, and I've been doing, a lot of interviews and disseminating the content out there. I'm glued to the computer.
It's fun, isn't it? Now, as you're promoting the book, are you thinking of the next book? Are you working on the next book?
Oh, God, I've got 4 or 5 books already in my head. And
love it.
Are in various stages of development, and a couple of proposals out there. Yeah, there's always stuff happening.
But you have to multitask because you're on Facebook, you're doing this, and then all of a sudden something comes to you, and you just put it aside and kind of like log it. Okay, write yourself an email.
Yeah, it's really tough because I keep saying I need to clone myself, but I'd need several clones to really make things work properly. But if I have like a solid thing and someone says, okay, look, this is the contract, but we need it by this date, somehow I manage to do it, and yet I still manage to keep up with the social networking and the promoting and this and that.
Now, are they talking about an audiobook for this?
Not to my knowledge, but I mean it's just come out. I mean technically the first was the official day it was out, but it's
Today?
Yeah, but I mean apparently it's been out for days because I'm
Oh.
seeing the numbers on Amazon. They keep having to replenish the stock.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
well, I hope it keeps up.
Because I was thinking if it's an audiobook, you have a great voice, you'd probably do it yourself.
Well, yeah, but we have so many characters in there that I don't know if I'd be successful pulling them all off. Sounding like Darcy, sounding like Lady Catherine de Bourgh, sounding like Mr. Collins. There's so many people.
Gilbert Gottfried said they'd locked him in a room for 3 days and he just had to bang it out,
Oh dear.
which, is kind of daunting.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, my accent's sort of mixed up. I mean, I'm not English sounding, but I'm not quite American either. I've had all kinds of odd people saying things like, oh, are you from South Africa? That wasn't where that came from.
No, it's kind of unique. It's good that you have this voice, which is, you've got a little of the Brit thing and a little of the American thing. It's nice.
Ambidextrous voice.
So, okay, so you're here in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Will you go on any kind of a book tour with this book?
Well, there isn't actually a formal book tour organized. I mean, if there were some events going on, and they're within reason for me to get to, I do that. I think it's probably more likely I'll do some things when I'm back in the UK because the book will be out in the UK in the latter part of July, and that will be when I'm back. And, it's possible some things might happen then.
Now, I see Border books closing up. They're going to keep Borders, but they're closing a lot of them, including a beautiful one in Boston.
Yeah, I know. That's really sad. It's anytime any bookshop shuts, that's bad news.
Well, I'm wondering, what's it like in England compared to America? Because you have these smaller bookstores here that are just barely getting by, but they're lovely. They're important.
Yes, yeah. Well, we have independent bookshops, but they're not quite, I don't think we have as many as here in the U.S. And the thing in the UK is there's a big monopoly there between W.H. Smith and Waterstones. And it's not necessarily a good monopoly because in order for your books to be even getting any attention at all, you have, as a publisher, to offer such a huge discount that you don't make any money. Nobody makes any money. It's like the mafia of book selling,
So this is two big chains.
Yeah, Waterstones and W.H. Smith are the two main chains in the UK, and
Kinda like-
basically controlling a lot.
Kind of like Barnes & Noble and Borders here.
Well, not exactly, because Barnes & Noble, you go into Barnes & Noble, and there's a huge variety of books, and you don't necessarily have to, sort of pay them off to have the books on the front table, I don't think. But
Right,
I mean,
right.
At Waterstones, I know they wanted to feature my book, but I don't think my publisher wanted to go for it because it's just, you probably would be in the red. That's
Well,
how bad it is.
It's like the record industry. In the day when you had a vinyl album out, you would have to give the record stores 50 promotional copies just to get window space.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame, really. But the one thing about the U.S. that with the independent booksellers, even though I know they're having a difficult time, I still think there's a lot more people rallying behind the indies, which is good because independent bookshops are interesting and they're fun to go in and they're nice, and so is Barnes and Noble. That's good too. So there should be room for everybody.
And that's the key point, Mitzi. Interesting. We had this unique little video store which closed yesterday here in Winchester. You would love Winchester. It's almost a little British in a way. And we've got a bookstore here called Bookends. But we had this great video store, Six Seeds Video, and they just shut yesterday, and it was unique. And I was over at the liquor store, and the woman said, you know, the kids had a playroom, and the parents could come over here and buy liquor, and they would watch the kids, and it was a real community thing.
Yeah.
And to lose just that, just one little store, it really hurts a community.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, really, because, I mean, the indie bookshops I've been in, I've just been, you know, they're just cozy. You go in, you want to hang around, you want to be a looky-loo. You know, sometimes they have the coffee. I mean, obviously, pretty much everyone needs to serve latte these days to stay in business. But, I mean, it's just the whole experience. And you go in, and there's books, and there's just that excitement if you're a book lover. You know, you just get that buzz.
Now, are you near London? Are you in London?
I live outside London, actually, so I'm technically in Greater London.
Oh, so it doesn't take you long to get into London proper?
No, it's about half an hour on the train. I could get to East London, and then 5 more minutes I'm in, like, the city.
And are there any independent booksellers in London proper, or are they just basically the main?
Yeah, there are some, sure. They're scattered around, yeah.
And do you do book signings at them?
I haven't really. I mean, I generally do things that are like an organized event. Like if I'm appearing at a literature festival, and then they'll stock my books, and they'll sell them, and I'll sign them, that kind of thing.
Now, how about the libraries in America? Do you think they would stock something like Pride and Prejudice, Hidden Lusts?
I should think so, because the libraries in America have stocked my fairy tales book.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so
Because
so I should think they'll probably get this as well.
we're big on libraries here, so this show.
Oh, well, I love libraries. I mean, I've been in libraries since childhood. I think they're a very important thing to have.
I notice how the computers are bringing people back in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a library just 5 minutes walk from where I live, and, I'm always popping over there to get books, or if I've got a problem with the internet, I'll run over there and, go online, and it's great, and I do hope that they can keep going, because it would be a really sad thing for our culture if they can't keep at it.
Now, do you remember the Herman's Hermits?
Well, I know who they are, yeah, or who they were, rather.
Well, Peter Noon put a photo book out, and I was honored. He asked me to write the foreword.
Oh, lovely.
So I wrote the foreword, but then the libraries around here, I asked them, and they purchased the book, which was really great, so you can go into, like, the Medford Public Library, and there's Peter Noon's book. I was wondering if your library's around your neck of the woods, because you write the whole book. I just wrote the foreword,
Yeah.
But do your local libraries carry your books?
I've not seen my books in my library. I actually haven't.
Oh, shake them down, Mitzi. See, I live here,
Donate a book or something and say, don't you want my books? Or am I not good enough?
No, what I do is I send them an email and say, hey, this Peter Noon book's out, and I wrote the foreword, and I live here. And then they said, oh, great, we'd love to have it. And then they went and I gave them the contact info, and that was that.
Yeah, well, again, the UK is suffering like everyone with cutbacks and libraries closing and this and that. It's unfortunate, and they cut back on their orders, and I don't know. I know when I was teaching at university in the UK for several years, and at one of my universities, they would stock my books in the bookshop, which was actually Waterstones, one of the chains, but they kept me in stock since I was teaching there.
That's great. Now, do you have
students come up all shy with the book and say, "Would you sign my book?"
Very shy with the book.
It was sweet, really. I said, "Of course, I'll sign it. Thank you."
Well, it was college, so
Yeah,
they're
well,
old enough.
I mean, I guess it's sort of funny. I mean, there's your teacher and your lecturer, and you've got the book from the shop, and it was nice.
Now, what do you think about Kindle?
I think Kindle's fabulous. I mean, I do not own one because it's not necessarily a way I prefer to read, but I do think anything that gets books out there is a good thing.
So, have you talked about possibly Kindle for this book?
I believe there probably will be a Kindle version. I actually haven't checked it, but I mean, my fairy tales is on Kindle.
Okay, so as an author, you like that. That's good to know.
Well, because it sells books, and I'm not going to be such a purist and say, oh, that's not a proper book because it's not got paper. we also have a generation of people that have grown up with computers, and for them to read on a screen is perfectly normal. So there's nothing wrong with it. Anything that keeps people reading is good. And we've just got Kindle in the UK, and I'm seeing them all over the place.
Well, when you walk into Barnes & Noble around here, and there might be one down in South Florida where you are,
Yeah, there is.
they've got the big, whatever they have of their version of Kindle.
Oh, yeah, Nook.
The Nook, they have a kiosk, and it's like, whoa, it just really hits you in the face.
Yeah, I've got books on Nook as well, but that's only available in the United States. But Kindle's just come to the UK, and now they're in Germany, so I think it's a matter of time before they probably are almost everywhere.
Now, if people who collect books, would they get a different cover of the book in the UK than here in America?
No, because this book is an American publisher, and so essentially the books are shipped to the UK, and there's a UK distributor sending the books out. So it's exactly the same book.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I've seen some books that are published in America, and then for the British version, they've reset the type with British spelling, or else vice versa, a British book that they put American spellings and changing a few words that I guess they think Americans won't understand. I don't know. But no, it's exactly the same book as you've got is the one that is in the UK and anywhere else in the world.
Some of my authors say in Japan they just changed the titles completely on them.
Well, oh, you mean if they're actually going to be in Japanese? Or?
Right. So the titles change, and they have no idea what gets changed in their book.
Yeah. Well, when I had my Valentine books, they were translated into Russian.
Whoa.
I don't know what was in there. I have no idea what those books had in them.
That's pretty exciting. But do you have them on your shelf?
Yes, I do, and it's so funny because the paper is so bad. It's like almost like loo roll. Toilet paper is so thin.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I know, especially since its capital is Russia, so I don't know.
Now, did it get mailed to you once it was printed?
Yeah, but I had to chase it down, and they showed up about 2.5 years late.
Okay, so you open it up. It still must have been exciting.
Yeah, it was a trip. I mean, Russian versions. I mean, I don't think I ever saw any money off of it, though.
Oh, but it's still kind of neat for your resume.
Absolutely.
Any other languages you've been published in?
I've had some short stories translated into German and Italian.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, and they were like in anthologies. But generally, the actual full-length books, no, they've pretty much stayed in English as of now, anyway. Who knows, maybe tomorrow something new will happen.
Well, this is fascinating. We have to get you here in the studio.
I know. Oh, well, hey, send me a ticket. I'll be there.
Well, we would love to do that, and we're actually looking along those lines, but we're just so busy right now. Authors coming through, film directors, and musicians, of course. We started the whole show with music.
Oh, I love music. I came from a musical background, so that's sort of close to my heart, the whole music thing and the understanding how they are musicians. I feel a kinship with them.
You remember the Jefferson Airplane?
Of course.
Well, Marty Ballin of the Airplane was my first guest,
Uh-huh.
and he'll be up here July 23rd. We have him at the Boston Esplanade, we're on July 4th. It's on national TV, the Boston Pops.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
So, the radio station here, and I'm bringing Marty up with them. And we did it 3 years ago. We're doing it again July 23rd. So it's great to have a guest in the studio, and then, a radio station picks it up and brings him up here. So you never know.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, if this book sells enough copies, you never know what might happen.
Yeah, I'm so happy your publicist found me. It's great to have you here on Visual Radio.
Even though I'm not visual, but yeah.
Well, the whole point of the show is you don't have to watch it.
Oh, that's a great, okay.
Because they see my smiling face. But no, you're a great guest, and we'd love to have you in studio. Anything else you'd like to say about the book?
Well, it's great fun. It's rude, it's raunchy, it's hilarious, and it's just pure entertainment, really. And I hope readers will enjoy it in the spirit in which I wrote it.
And is
entertainment.
Oh, cool! And is there a website?
Yes, there is a website. I mean, they could just put in Pride and Prejudice, Hidden Lusts, and it's quite likely the first or second hit will be the book's website.
Oh, wow! On Google.
Yeah, and there's a book trailer there. There's quotes from, promotional quotes from authors, and articles, like, posting, reviews, interviews with me, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, and some year we got to have this interactive. The show is to get interactive, so we could do that. But we're going to have our
photos too, and I went to visit Jane Austen's house in Hampshire, so I did that as a kind of an inspiration thing. So I've got my photos from Jane's house.
Oh, did you take video?
Unfortunately not, but I just have some still shots, and it gives the gist of it.
That is awesome, Mitzi. That is really great.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for being on the air. We've got our film critic calling in.
Okay.
And our sports hostess probably wants to call in too. He usually calls at 8:20, but I was having a lot of fun talking to you.
Well, thanks so much for inviting me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Mitzi. Good luck with the book.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Pride and Prejudice, Hidden Lusts. That was a great interview. Fascinating. Stuff just comes into my mailbox. What we're going to do is we're going to call Johnny Byers up, because he didn't get to talk last week.
Hello, Joe.
Johnny.
How are you?
Good. What's the good word?
Well, the Red Sox and the Houston are tied in the bottom of the 1-1. Marco Scudero led off the first inning with a home run, and that sounds strange, but Jacoby Ellsbury was scratched from the lineup right before game time with flu-like symptoms.
Wow. Shades of Josh Beckett, huh?
Yep.
So, Johnny, you had a big week. You're in the Medford Transcript.
Right.
You weren't in the Medford Daily Mercury, but you were everywhere else. Boston.com, Inside Medford, and The Patch.
Well, I know I was supposed to be appearing by phone on the Damon and Delara show, but I had a few problems with getting in touch with them, so that had been postponed. But that's eventually going to happen. And I've been busy the last several days out and about getting signatures to get on the ballot and talking to the voters of Medford.
It's amazing. And now Anthony D'Antonio is running as well. I think it's great.
Right.
Let's have as many candidates as possible. John, I think if we have an army of candidates, and you were the first, and like I said, if McGlynn does not get reelected, he can thank John Byers for having the courage to open the floodgates.
Right.
I think if you didn't run, before the Mercury was aware you were running, they had printed no opposition for McGlynn.
Yeah, wow.
And the next day they took it back when they saw you pulled papers.
They probably, just as a lot of people didn't think I would do, they didn't think I was going to pull papers, but I was dead serious when late last year, a couple of times last year at the city council, I did announce that I was going to pull papers to run against Mia, and at the time, I wasn't even sure about it, but there was an incident which basically forced me to do this, and that was a fact.
You met with the mayor. You met with the mayor. You didn't like what you heard. That's all we'll say. You did not like what you heard.
And the mayor made a statement to one of my parents, and like I have said in the past, you want to make statements about me, you tell them to me, my face, not to be relayed by someone else to me, and then get me basically irked enough to want, because that's what forced me in this race, was the mayor making those inflammatory statements, that inflammatory statement about me.
Hey, I don't mind telling our audience, I wrote your dad, who worked with me. Your dad worked with me back in 1972 or 71.
Okay.
And I wrote him a nice letter about the situation at TV3, and your dad went to the mayor, and
then the mayor...
the mayor made certain statements that you didn't like, allegedly. Allegedly, because I didn't hear him. So I don't want to say anything but you're inspired to run, and that's good.
Right.
And Anthony D'Antonio's running, and you said you have a friend that says there's a fourth person possibly running.
Yeah.
And I know a fifth person possibly running, and I'm urging Councilor Penta to run. Now, Johnny, my theory is Councilor Penta is in Italy. That's where you go to relax and think. And I think if he's going to go to Italy, he's thinking about running. That's where you get far away from Medford.
I'll tell you one thing. If he did that and he comes back, I hope he pulls, because that will really drive McGlynn batty.
Well, I think with all you guys on the campaign trail and seeing who gets the most votes in the polling, it keeps McGlynn on his toes, because if there's 5 or 6 of you on the podium, Mike is going to have to do what he hates doing, which is answering questions. How can you be mayor for 24 years and not answer a question?
Well, that's the same as you be mayor in Boston for 18 years and not have to answer.
Well, you know, Menino actually answers questions because the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald are down his throat.
Yeah.
But the Boston Globe and Herald can be down Menino's throat. The transcript and to some extent the Mercury are not down the mayor's throat.
Because like I told a lot of people, and I'm not afraid to say this, anytime something bad happens in Medford, you don't see it in the Medford newspapers. Only things that are good, that happen that are good in Medford end up in the newspapers. It's a news blackout. If you want to find out any bad goings on in the city, you got to go outside of the city and look at newspapers outside of the city to find out if there's been anything bad going on in the city of Medford.
There is a blackout on objectivity in Medford. There absolutely is, because the mayor seems to be controlling the message, and that's not fair, including, and I'm going to end up with this, he's controlling the message on TV3. He's there talking about Verizon and the electric company, and that's not his venue. That's our venue.
Right.
But, you know, I'll tell you this. Do you know that my video of the operations manager of TV3 is like viral?
Yes, you told me that recently, and
Did you see my email?
I saw your email, and I also finally had a chance to see the incident that you told me about in Florida at the Casey Anthony case. And that, like you told me, that's probably why it was going to go viral, and exactly why, because the guy in the Casey Anthony case gave his finger to the...
But it was very subtle. He had his hands like this, and you don't even see his middle finger doing it. But this kid from Medford, he was 3 times flagrant at City Hall.
Really?
We're yet supposed to be respectful. It's not church, but you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Anyways, John, we've got a movie. I got to call Frank Delastrito.
Let you go, and I'll talk to you later.
I wanted you to announce your mayoral candidacy, and congratulations.
Bye-bye.
Bye. John Byers running for mayor. And now it's time for Frank Delastrito. Here on Visual Radio. And that's our show already.
Frank Delastrito.
Did I call the right number?
Yep.
Great. Hey, Frank, what's our movie tonight?
You told me it was The Stranger.
That's correct, it is.
Okay, and once again, I am shocked that you were able to do this. Once again, the best movie on anywhere broadcast in the country tonight is on your station. The Stranger is a very fine movie. I really envy anyone who hasn't seen it and is going to watch it tonight. It's 1946, directed by Orson Welles, and it's kind of film noirish, but it's Wells is conforming as much as he cared to Hollywood requirements, so he makes a real thriller. And Edward G. Robinson at his best. Orson Welles is in it, as well as directing, and Loretta Young is there. And it's a very fine movie. 1946, the war was just over, and this is a search for a Nazi war criminal. And there were, if I can give a little history, you break in when you want me to change what I'm doing.
No.
There were 2 movies that year of Nazi war criminals. One was Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious, which takes place in South America, and the other one was the Orson Welles movie The Stranger. And I'm not spoiling anything for people to say that Edward G. Robinson. You learn in the first 5 minutes Edward G. Robinson is on the trail of a Nazi war criminal, and he tracks him to this little town in England, and we all know it's the Orson Welles character, but for the next hour it's kind of a cat and mouse. Can he convince himself? Can Edward G. Robinson convince himself, and then get the proof he needs to bring this man to justice? And I'm very fond of this movie for a couple of reasons. I saw it at a tender age, but I really enjoyed it, even though it wasn't into my age group. And this was a big hit, and so was Notorious. And with that came the whole genre of Nazi war criminals, and my forte is horror movies. And a lot of the schlock horror movies I grew up with had the mad scientists were renegade Nazis who had escaped Germany and were carrying on their nefarious work all over the world.
So there is a connection, a kind of subtle connection.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, we had these. Really, when you step back and figure out what the Nazis could scientifically in the technological field, what the Nazi scientists had done compared to the rest of the world, they had gotten way ahead. And, our space program, it's an overstatement to say our space program was developed by guys that used to work for Adolf Hitler, but, starting with Werner von Braun and working your way down, there were a lot of former employees of the Third Reich who wound up being employees of both the Soviets and the United States that built rockets. So growing up in the 50s, there was this whole mystique of, God, what have these guys discovered? They had discovered all sorts of things that we're still using today. Synthetic fuels, because it was all neat. They had no oil. They were running out of coal. They came up with synthetic fuels. They came up with synthetic materials. They came up with synthetic food, and they were doing all these terrible experiments. And what did they find out with that? And that became fodder for the cheap horror movies that I grew up with. But it also became fodder for some very fine films, and two that probably the two best were 1946, and you're showing one of them tonight.
65 years later.
65 years later, now we're making movies about, I guess they don't make movies about Nazi war criminals anymore, but and I guess we don't make movies about communist agents anymore. So now we're making movies about terrorists, but the theme is the same. The murderer is among us, the enemy is here, and I hope we can recognize him, et cetera, and can we out him?
And we got 30 seconds left, Frank.
Okay. Well, what else can I say? Orson Welles. I didn't know it until you told me today, and I did a little more research on the movie than I would have otherwise, that there is 20 minutes missing out of this film. And people will notice it's kind of abrupt that Edward G. Robinson is trailing a known